It's me. Hi.
Hi.
It's Gar.
Jimmy and Nick.
I am the god.
I think we peaked and we have our little group of fans and we're good.
He allegedly raped 11 women.
The Japanese Bill Cosby. Cut that out.
What was your first experience with romance in gaming, James?
It's got to be probably like, it's going to be a tie between Knights of the Old Republic, kind of that first, where you kind of can pick your companion who you will have more. In that game was more like just sex. But then there was like, I thought not romance, but more a bond, a love was I thought really done in games such as like the original Max Payne, where your wife is already dead.
Yeah.
But you can feel his pain like throughout that entire game.
Yeah.
And I just didn't get that before I played in other previous games. But when I played that, I felt like I knew this guy's family. His family was murdered, and it doesn't feel like it's just added to the game to make it more dramatic. It felt like this is his story, and it's a fucked up world that he lives in, and you kind of understand why he just goes psycho insane.
Were they murdered in front of him?
No, they were murdered, and he came home, and his wife was like, I think she was raped and murdered, and his kid was shot in the crib. And, yeah, it was just, like, really fucked up. And I know it's a little weird to mention romance, but in terms of, like, a loving bond, like, something that felt real, like, in real life. When
like, his relationship fueled your, like, entire experience in the game. Like
Exactly. My favorite example ever in a game, I don't know if either of you played Prince of Persia 2008, but...
Yeah.
I think that game just had like one of the best natural romances. They start off kind of like little jokes here and there, and as the game progresses, you'll be like randomly talking to each other while climbing stuff, and you kind of get in this idea that he likes her, but nothing more than that. And spoilers, at the end of the game, she sacrifices herself to save the world, and he couldn't accept that, so he basically let the darkness and corruption invade the world again as long as she was alive. And she was like, why would you do that? And he said, it's not worth living in a world without you, otherwise what's the point of living? So I thought, like, what?
Way to respect her wishes.
Yeah, I know, like, it's selfish, but it kind of makes sense. Like, in his mind view, the world is so useless without her that he'd rather not have a world at all.
God damn, what a dick.
Yeah, I loved it, though. That was, like, my favorite fucking ending ever to a game. One of my favorites.
Like, am I a sociopath that I would probably let my true love just die? It's just, like, not because I'm like, oh, finally I can swing around and see other babes, but just because I'm like, wow, she was willing to give up her life for this shit. I should probably respect her wishes. That's like if someone, like, asked me to do something on their deathbed, and I was like, fuck you, bitch!
Yeah, I mean, it's 50-50.
Did any of you guys ever, like, fall in love with the game character before? Where you're just, oh god, I wish you were real! Because if you met me, you for some reason want to be with me, even though I'm like sitting in a room playing video games.
I don't know if I've done that. There's characters I cared for, like... but not so much loved. More like, like, I thought Tomb Raider, the new one, did a really good job of making you care for Lara Croft.
Yeah.
And, like, protecting her almost more than anything.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, like, when she got on top of that tower, and, man, that was, like, one of the greatest moments in gaming, when you finally get up there and you're like, oh, God, she's safe. It was so awesome. I love that. I mean, it did a really good job of capturing my emotions. I don't want to call it love, but I'll call it, you know, a love, like, to protect somebody. Yeah, that game did it.
Okay.
Probably the closest thing you asked if I've ever, like, been quote unquote in love with a character. When I was younger and, like, Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, probably Kairi was the.
Oh God, really? She's so lame.
I liked Kairi, especially the first game.
I think we were all there.
I mean, in my 13-year-old child body, or whenever the game came out, I thought she was gorgeous.
Oh, we all did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all like, oh, that's our...
Give me more of that flat-chested, spaghetti-armed goodness.
But you also asked my first exposure to it in video games. And two of them that I can think of, because it's as far back as I remember really playing. First Kingdom Hearts is the first one, with Sora and Kairi. And then the second one would probably be Final Fantasy X with Titus and Yuna. For some reason I played a lot of RPGs as a kid, I'm realizing.
Oh,
Yeah.
But that was probably my first exposure to it. In terms of how it is in video games, the games that I've played that have had romance, I thought that they've worked well. Like recent example, Assassin's Creed Unity. I thought that the relationship between Arno and Elise was extremely well done, and the story in the game is probably my favorite part of it. I mean, I think romance has its place in video games. A lot of times, like The Witcher, I haven't played a lot of it, but I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of romance in that, and then there's games that'll just like have sex scenes for the sake of having a sex scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that it's really used as much as it could be.
I don't know. I mean, I think about romance a lot in games. You know, like they've kind of been around games since the very fucking beginning. In that, like, the whole point of Donkey Kong and Mario is that they keep stealing his girl, and she's basically she's basically your incentive to play the entire game, and that's kind of something. I'm not a fan of it being used like that in games. Like, I'm not a fan of them just basically your love interest existing as a trophy. Like,
Yeah.
even it's actually a lot of Nintendo games. I realize, like in Zelda and in Mario, you don't know jack shit about why you should love Peach or why you should love Zelda, but you just know you got to go fucking fight for your entire life and fight these crazy weird lizard bastards and lizards. And die a million times to save them. I think that's a poor way to implement it. I mean,
I think the thing with Nintendo is the old story of, you know, we're the protectors and we have to save women. I mean, it's an old mindset, but I think that's what Nintendo goes for.
Totally. And, you know, they've been better at implementing it in games lately. Like, even, they kind of did a slightly more decent job of it in Skyward Sword, even if I just really fucking...
Oh, I loved it in Skyward Sword.
But, it really disappointed me. I shouldn't say I hate it. I enjoyed the gameplay, but the story was so stupid. And, you know, I normally wouldn't give a shit about it, but they were talking it up the entire time they were, like, getting ready for release. But anyway, we're talking about romance. And that'll be, like, another 2 hours of me just being like, fuck Zelda. But, so, I mean, I don't like when it's used in games like that. And even in certain BioWare games, they kind of used it like that, and that, like, romance... You know, like, the whole point of BioWare games is that you build a character that reflects you.
Yeah.
And it's cool to be able to explore relationships with your party members and to, like, make true allies that you'd want to ride into battle with. And that's why I feel like they kind of dropped the ball in the beginning in romance, where, like, they would basically just be a reward. Like, it would just be a sex scene, and then it wouldn't have any impact on the game later.
Yeah, like KOTOR.
And even like Mass Effect 1, kind of. Although they actually, the choice, like if you romance Ashley, spoilers, and you have to choose between letting her or Caden die, that like added a lot of weight to the decision.
Yeah.
But I really feel they're taking good steps in BioWare games of fleshing out characters.
Yeah, Dragon Age definitely improved a big time on that for me.
Yeah, like Cassandra is one of the like greatest love interest characters in gaming history. Her and Morrigan, I thought, were both fucking incredible. Like,
yeah,
they weren't just like rewards; they were your partners that stayed throughout the entire game, that made you more invested in the story, that made you want to save the world more. That's an excellent example of how you do it, and the fact that there are always more and more interactions that you can have with them. Like, it's not like you just like, you know, gave them chocolates and then they gave you their vagina. It's not like it's just like a transaction at a shop.
You gave him chocolates and it's my vagina.
Like, there's actually a lot of nuance, and
I think romance, it definitely has a spot in gaming, and if used correctly, can really drive it home for certain characters.
Yeah.
And I just hope that they, like you said, improve, and I think BioWare's kind of the lead frontier in improving.
Totally.
And other games, either... If you're going to let us be more like BioWare and make our own relationship, give us more. But if you're going to tell a love story, make us feel like these characters are real.
Yeah.
And that we want them to be together or so on. You know, give us a reason why we want these characters together.
You know, you actually brought up a really good point earlier in that it could be used as a motivator. Like with Max Payne, like you said. And I think another really good example of that, even though I thought the multiplayer was great and the story was very good, the single player game of Last of Us sucked, but the story was so good, and I loved Ellie. I thought that their relationship was really good, and that actually got me through most of that fucking ladder fest.
I'm gonna mention Last of Us. One, the relationship with Ellie is unparalleled in terms of father-daughter.
Yeah.
There's not a game out there that made me feel nearly as close. But I think also a big motivator is watching your daughter get gunned down.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I don't want to think about it.
But I think the part that was so amazing and drives it home is that it wasn't by these infected. It was by a human. And that really starts off the game where there is no really good or evil. It's just survival.
Yeah.
And, when you meet Ellie, you can understand why he's always really distant and stuff. He doesn't want to relive those moments again. And, man, when you get up to David and, I mean, those moments in gaming, there's just nothing that matches that connection yet in gaming.
And then another good example of, like, doing the silent princess well, just ignore my sentence structure of that, would be Shadow of the Colossus and Ico.
Oh, yeah, like, especially Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, like, actually, Ico is good in a way that, like, it shows you how much relationships can suck sometimes, because you're trying to leave, and this fucking fair maiden that you love just won't leave, and you're like, we gotta go!
I hate her, man. Fucking Ico would be on my list if that game didn't fucking give me a heart attack about 100 times. I hate that game. It rises my blood pressure. It's just, like you said, she's a stupid bitch. I don't like to use that word, but she's so stupid. She's always like, oi, oi! And I'm like, no, follow. And she would just stay, and, man, that game. Yeah. But anyway.
You're surrounded by shadow demons, and she decides it's a good time to start, like, clipping her nails or something, and it's just absurd. You're trying to escape. You're being surrounded by evil, and she's just like, I wonder what's gonna happen on The Bachelor later.
Exactly. It's bullshit.
Just weird.
But there we go. So there's a lot of big examples of romance, not just romance, but like, I guess, bonds or love in games from different levels of falling in love to feeling a character actually love another. So I think we basically covered that games are doing a good job, especially Last Generation, actually.
Yeah.
And now we're just improving as this new generation kind of becomes its own.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Those are our romance, love, bonding experiences.